This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News, news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
We All Be is honored to have on the one and only Miss Lady, who's truly beyond category. She's a very gifted sister. I would call her an empath. Like she knows certain things about certain things that's going to happen and that already has happened. And I just think it was very important to have her on in this time. What's going on right now, I call it the TrumpGeist, the spirit that's going on right now with the paradigm shifts and whatnot. And she's somebody that really could give us a lot of food for thought and something to really build upon. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, thank you.
It's an honor to have you on. I really enjoyed meeting you. You're a very interesting person, a unique person, a true individual. So, what you got to talk about? What you got to show for us tonight?
You want me to continue what I was saying about Trump?
Yeah, you can start with Trump.
Do you want to do something else?
Well, all the stuff you've been saying was very fascinating. Go ahead.
Well, you know what it is that a lot of people don't know, and I didn't believe it for years till I researched it, that all our presidents are related. They're all descendants of King John.
Okay.
So people are like, how can I get in this Illuminati? You can't, because unless you're married into them, this is an elite club. So basically it's like the olden days when they're going to conquer a country and then they would send their sons, their grandsons, say you can have a state and you can have this and you can have that. The only difference is the people are already here, and we don't even know that they're related. We thinking, oh, that president doesn't like that president, and we don't even know. They probably get together at family vacations and, where they all have 5,000 or whatever. But the thing is that Trump and Hillary are cousins, very distant. But if you go back 18 grandparents, they have the exact same grandparent, and that's King John and Catherine Swinert. Now, the only reason I find this interesting because it's kind of just like what Dick Gregory said, like how he talks about the symbol for liberty is this cracked bell. Mm-hmm. It's not even a solid bell. It's a cracked bell. It's the basis is already no good. And so that's why I bring up the whole Donald Trump being related to Hillary, because King John had one wife and he was married to her for several years. She died. He married a second woman. He was married to her for something like 10, 15 years, and she died. And then his third wife was Catherine Swinert, and she's the grandparent who made both Trump and Hillary's ancestors. And why that's so important is because Catherine Swinert was not just his mistress the whole entire time, even from the first marriage. She had 4 children with him. So see, by the time he married her, children were already getting along, and he said, you know what, I got to legitimize these kids. I already ran out of wives. I might as well marry the mistress because she's my nanny, and she raised my kids, and she raised our kids. So that's the dirty background with Trump and Hillary. That even when you go all the way back, it's still dirty. Mm. And I think to top that off, I don't know if it's them or someone else, there was something about even his, I don't know if it was him or someone else, questioning the birth or the legitimacy because I think the parents got married after the birth or something, and then they try to falsify it with the Vatican and whatnot. But, that's another thing. But the whole point is just these people, they come off as better than everyone else, but they ain't no better than nobody else. Mm. In fact, they're a lot worse than everybody else.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I just wanted to say about Trump.
Interesting. I also want to ask you about this as well. Obama, before he left office, he had issued an executive order dealing with space weather defense back in October. Are you familiar with that?
You know what? This is what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. See, again, just not meaning to reference him, but I got to. I believe what Dick Gregory say about the whole space program because all of it has been so shady. You know, they don't show us real full pictures of the planet. They had NASA down in Florida because that's where Disney is, and they could create a full visual. You got Admiral Byrd's testimony about the hollow earth and different people and literally physically crashing into an ice ring at the edge of the earth. So see, there's so many stories, and we already know when they tell you too many different stories, you know that the one that they're saying, no, but this is the real one, you know that's not it. Otherwise, they wouldn't tell you so many stories to confuse you. That's when you got a question, when you see that the pieces don't fit and there's too many pieces for the puzzle. You know, so I don't know that, but I'm more concerned about Executive Order 13603.
Okay.
Because that's the one about slavery. And people, you know, people don't get it. People say, oh, slavery. And they think that you're going to go to work and come home and not get paid. And they think they're going to go home and drink some beer, smoke some cigarettes, and watch TV. And I'm like, you know what? The problem is you don't even know what slavery was really like.
Right.
Right? Because look, Alvin Ailey didn't even write Roots. It was a white boy he stole it off of. So we don't even, you know, we know because we can research. But I tell people all the time, and people say, well, if that's what it's going to be, it's just what it's going to be. And, you know, a lot of those people who say that, I hear a lot of men say that. I say, do you like rape? Because not only did they rape every man, woman, and child, after a while, it gets more exciting for a lot of these sick white men to rape black men.
Right.
Because after a while, they done had all the women and all the children, and now it's more, and we all know rape is nothing but a power trip.
Exactly.
So the biggest trip on them is to rape another man, a bigger man, a black man. So, you know, but you know what? This is the problem. The rape of the black man has never stopped. Never stopped. Let me mentally rape you. I can't physically rape you, but I could throw you in jail. You might get raped there. You know, it's just a constant, an emotional, a financial, a mental rape. And this is why we got to just stop. It's you know what, I'm all on board with Dr. Phil Valentine says. He says it's inane and insane, quote unquote, to march for anything. It's inane and insane. And why? Because where has it gotten us?
Right.
Where has it? Look, how many people marching all over the country, even in other parts of the world. It don't bother Donald Trump. It don't cause traffic for him. He got a what do they call it? Cavalry car, you know, whatever. The police come through. You don't have to stop for traffic. None of that bothers him. So what are we really achieving and accomplishing? Mind you, I'm not saying it can't accomplish nothing, but you can't fix a broken system because the system ain't broke. It was made like this.
Right.
This is a slave system. So I ask people all the time, how do you fix this? They say, no. You're confused. And I said, no. And you know what? I got to say this to you, Ron. I'm not anti-American, but I just hate when history is misused, even though it's misused in a good purpose. What do I mean? I went to a rally and they were just screaming how the Statue of Liberty, that's all they could talk about, and that bringing you're poor, you're tired, you're hungry. And it was a Muslim man, and he was saying that. But I'm like, man, don't they know that the Statue of Liberty is even more of a hate symbol because it's a gift from France to the slaves. And she was a slave. Her hands were up in the air with broken shackles on her feet. And she had a fro and she looked like a brown woman. But America said, because they're such bigots, they said, we don't want no nigger in our harbor, and send her back. And, you know, the French, being arrogant, they're like, well, just take it. And they said, you know what, change her face to a white lady, and we'll put her back. And they did it, and that's why her face looked crazy. She looked like a man. Who she really is the patron saint of destiny. When you see Columbia Pictures, you know, and it opens, the screen opens, that's the patron saint of destiny. That's who that is. That's not Statue of Liberty. The real Statue of Liberty, you see at the bottom of her feet, she has a shackle on one of her feet. And everybody should go inquire about that shackle, and then they'll find the real plans for the Statue of Liberty and who she really was. And the artist insisted that shackle be left there because, and you know, it's really a slap in the face. Not only are we taking this major present from France to Negroes, we not just gonna not put her in our harbor unless you make us white. You make her white, I'm sorry. They said, we're going to put a sign in front of her saying, give us your tired, your hungry, poor. What they basically meant was, after slavery, give us any broken down white folk you could find. If they limping, if they hopping on one leg, just bring them on over, as long as they don't take no black jobs. Now look, what happened to their racism? Now they've screwed themselves over because they imported so many European people. Now that they're outsourced, and who's losing their jobs? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, oh, we did this to be nasty and mess you all up. Now we've messed up our own people.
Yep, that's true.
Now what?
That's deep.
I'm gonna tell you like this, Ron. That somebody had put a thing on Facebook in talking about emigrating, that emigrating is not a right, that it's a privilege, and you know, and there was good old boys who claim to not be racist, but they're saying nobody deserves to come in the U.S. unless you're a citizen, a U.S. citizen, nobody. And I'm going to tell you, I wrote a few things, people wrote some stuff back, but I literally wrote the last two comments. I literally wrote 49 and 50, because after me, nobody dared say anything, because I said, you say nobody but a U.S. citizen deserves to come to this country. Why don't you go tell that to Christopher Columbus and the Pilgrims? Because Europeans love to come bully their way in, and pardon my French, I said, and fuck everything up. And then nobody ain't say nothing after that. And then I posted after that, I said, you know what? Emigrating to the U.S. is a privilege. It's about white privilege. It's about white people coming onto brown land and saying to the people who used to roam it freely, nah, we're not going to let you just come in. I tell everybody, I said, listen, the Mexicans, they're not trying to climb a wall to get into our country. They're trying to go home. You forget who was here first. So, you know, I almost feel like people need to be educated that it was the Indians, the Africans, Egyptians, there was Chinamen passing through our port, and I most recently found out that Filipinos used to do some trading off the coast of America as well. So you see, all the Negroes was here. All of them. All of them. So we had a thriving economy. We had thriving. Listen, people didn't need no welfare, didn't need no handouts when we was having 10, 12 children, because the earth provided for us. Ain't nobody try to charge us for where we stand. We all shared the earth. If a stranger came into our town, we shared our food. This is how we do. But when you have people who cannot play nice, you're supposed to do what you do with children and put them in their place and shut them down. But we, the brown people being the civilized, the true civilized people, we just sit back and go, oh my God, that's terrible, those barbaric white people doing that. That's just terrible. But we allow them. Dr. Phil Valentine, just to rewind back to that, he said, you want something, you do what they do. Take what you want, because that's what they do. They take what they want. So we have to make our own situation or destiny happen. And that's why Abraham Lincoln had written it not once, but in two different speeches. He basically says the same thing over, and he doesn't normally do that. But he did that because he knew what we were about to go through. And he said, if the inhabitants of this land, inhabitants, because he was including everybody, He-Man, slaves, Indians, whoever else might be hanging around, if the inhabitants of this land grow weary of the government and the men who pervert it, it is up to them to destroy it and rebuild. So that's one of our greatest presidents. And I'm like, I don't understand. People aren't really listening to what he said. It is up to us to build, to destroy it and rebuild it. So we're already in the numbers. And you know what? Why you see so many people out there? I go to the rallies, I said, hold up. This is a lot more brown faces than they claim.
Right.
If you look up the government census, it's absolutely insane and ridiculous. First of all, they try to say that there's more Hispanic people than black people in America. They said there's 14% Hispanic. They said that there's only 11% black. And they said that there's only 7% Asian. Well, I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot bigger. It's something. To me, I don't know what it really is, but I almost feel like it's 20-30% white, and then the rest is us, because they cause that division in categories and they make us not like each other. But we need to unify and realize that a Honduran is no different than a straight African, is no different than a Chinaman, is no different, because we got the same type of melanin. We're all selenium. So what's the difference?
Interesting stuff you got. A lot of insight. So you say all this to say, like, what do we need to do then? What's the next step in order for us to, I guess, get this thing kicked off in the right direction?
Trying to, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm more concerned. I don't know if you did your research, Ron. I told you to look up Gwen, Elf, and Hart. Did you look them all up in unison?
Yeah, I looked them hard. I didn't look at the other ones. Sorry about that. But tell us about that.
No, that's okay. But you know what? I don't have the exact info on hand, but Gwen is basically the military operating system. It's the project. Gwen is the project. ELF, ELF, is extremely low frequency. It's funny. We always talk about, you're not on my level. I'm on another frequency, a higher frequency.
Right.
Well, this how shady, very symbolic, this how shady the government is. They are now operating on a very low frequency. So if you're trying to do the CD or whatever, you're not going to catch it because it's much lower than what we're used to. So it's symbolic and it's real. But Gwen utilizes ELF so that they can communicate, but it's also connected. Gwen are the actual towers. ELF is the operating system, and HARP, I never realized, because I'm thinking it's some big satellite up in the sky. It's there on the towers. And basically, I had no idea what was the technology. It turns out the technology is they send ionization into the air when they want to make it warmer. In other words, Ron, they're microwaving us. They're microwaving the air. So that's my big concern. And then when you go on further, on other sites, or you do the research, you find out that there's a lot of people losing hair, even children. Just what's going on? What's going on? If you're 15, you shouldn't be balding. It doesn't make sense. And it's because of all the radiation that's in the air. I don't know how we're going to get rid of it, but I don't know what people are waiting for. They poisoned the water. They poisoned the air. They poisoned the soil. And by the way, Ron, I know that's why Obama put $8 million or $1 billion into African farming. And the America said, well, it's so the Africans don't starve or go hungry anymore. That's a lie. They're bullshitting us.
Mm-hmm.
They're not farming that for the Africans. Otherwise, they would have done that 100 years ago. No, they're farming that for the elites.
Mm.
They're farming it for the elites because our soil's no good no more. Our air's tainted. Most of our water you need to filter out.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the one thing I do want to say is very interesting how right after Trump had canceled out the funding for clean air and then the funding for clean water, I believe the very following day, if not the day after that, he then signed the approval to go ahead with the pipeline.
Mm.
So now, if accidentally the water is tainted, they're not liable for it because they don't have to test. So this is just evil. You already messed with people's air, their soil, their water. I don't know what people are waiting for. I think they're waiting for the government to come knocking on our door and trying to rip us out our house.
Yeah, I think people have ideas about. I mean, what do you think about predictive programming? How the media portrays certain events that end up happening later in the future. What do you think? What's your thoughts about that?
There is such a media blackout. I feel like it might as well be Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
It's all propaganda. The real news I want to hear about, they're not talking about. Do you know that they never talked about what was in the emails on the laptop? Remember, there was a whole issue, I think, between Wiener and Hillary, right. And mm-hmm. What were those emails? Well, that's the whole Pizzagate. You know the Pizzagate, right. That situation?
Mm-hmm.
That's Pizzagate. You mean to tell me it's not important that little kids go missing or they have some weird pedophile situation going on there? That's not important. I don't see it in the news. Even Giuliani had Twittered something about it, and he said that he was never involved. He knew, but he said he never participated.
Wow.
But, it's again, if you know about the evil, but you don't participate it, but you don't report it or do nothing to stop the evil, then you're evil too.
That's true. Yeah.
So people say, well, I had no part in that because I didn't do that also. I knew about it, but I didn't do it. As soon as he sent that out on Twitter, his account was canceled like an hour or so later.
Mm.
So it's very scary how, if you really research the whole Pizzagate, the guy, I think is it Adam Klein? Yes, Adam Klein, who Clinton had hired as the person in charge of stopping human trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
He was the same guy who supposedly, who literally has one of the pedophile pizzerias, and he's the one in charge of human trafficking.
Wow. That's so bad. Yeah.
What? That's like putting a crackhead or in charge of the meth lab or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you talking about?
Mm.
So, we have to look and see, our officials, who are they hiring? What are these people about? Because sometimes we don't know who they are. They come out of nowhere. Or we just go, oh, okay, I guess they must be good because they were picked. Mm. Meantime, you come to find out these people are very dirty. The whole Jeffrey Epstein,
wow.
You know about him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think politically, one of the only things that's scarier than Trump is George Soros.
Mm.
Because his only interest is war. Is civil war because he profits off of it. So, it's crazy that you could go to a rally and not only is he funding the Trump supporters, before he was elected, right. But he's funding the Black Lives Matter too.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And one thing I do want to say about that is that when I said to you before when you and I talked, some people say they're not a racist, but their actions and what they say seem pretty racist, even if they're not. So with that said, there was a man on Facebook who I know quite well, older man, lovely man, and he said, it's terrible, and he's a Trump supporter. He said, it's terrible. They're destroying D.C. and they're busting up windows. And so I commented on his thing. I said, sir, just so you know, it's white folk doing this. And he said, well, he said, what are you talking about? And I said, they were chanting white lives matter, white lives matter, as they were breaking things. I said, that's not us. That's not us. That's them. I said, that's you people. I told him. I said, that's one of your family members or something doing that nonsense. So, I think the problem is the system got everybody so confused, like you Republicans, you Democrats, when at the end of the day, you talk about the right hand of the devil or the left hand of the devil. I never vote because I've always known all my life that we don't really select our president. I've always known that. It just telepathically I've known. But even if I didn't know, I still wouldn't vote because I feel like both sides are evil. So why would I vote for one of them?
That's it. Yeah.
I vote for tearing down the system and rebuilding. That's what I vote for.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the problem. People can't see that because they got us too sidetracked. Again, the whole women's march, the women's movement is doing exactly what it was meant to do. It was meant to take away from the black movement. That's the only reason it was created. And so look, people who probably would have stormed the day after Trump was office all down the streets, they did it as a women's movement. And there were people who joined them that were really anti-Trump. They didn't care about the women's movement. They just cared about anti-Trump. So see, right away, the face of who should have been marching and who should have been doing something is already changed. It's already changed. So they've thrown confusion to the wind. And so now you don't even know. You're like, oh, well, I'm not going to protest Trump. I'm just going to protest being a woman and not being able to whatever. But if you're a white woman, you still way better off than a black man. You're way better off. Everybody better off in America than a black man. He's the one who gets it the worst and last because he's enemy number one. He is the God that the white man wants and tries to be. So I'm going to tell you, I always tell people when they have these superheroes, majority of them were always white. And somebody said to me, yeah, it's very racist. And I said, no, there's a whole psychology to it. They're trying to do and achieve what we have done, and they've discovered we've done in Egypt, Nigeria, Africa. They're trying to do and be what they know we are capable of. They go into the Buddhist temples in Tibet and they see monks floating in the air, literally defying physics. Again, the whole mystique, it all just goes right back to Africa. So, and we're still talking about Africans, we just talking about Asian Africans. So they see us doing, being telepathic, floating in the air, being able to be beaten down and work for 10, 12 hours and have to walk 3-4 miles a day, and still we're okay. That's kind of superhuman.
Right.
Right now they're having, and I want to give a little prophecy to you.
Okay.
I feel that, and it's already happening, but I feel like you're going to, like what we see with, I don't know if you know the movie Children of Men.
Okay.
Children of Men, and I've never seen the movie, but I know of it, and I know they're about to make it a series, The Handmaid's Tale. And all these stories are about Caucasian women who cannot have children. So, I joked around with one of my friends, and I said to him, you know what? He's gay Hispanic man. I said, you know what? I don't know why these women talk about, these white women talk about, oh, I got to hurry up and have me a baby by I'm 30, otherwise it may be too late.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, while we were having this conversation, we were stuck in traffic, and we saw this woman who looked like she was about 43, 45 years old. She was just big as I don't even know what, and limping.
Mm.
And, you know, I said to him, I said, some 30-year-old white woman who's been going to the gym and running tracks since she was 14, picture of health. She got trouble having a baby. She grew up in the best conditions, had vitamins every day of her life, but still having trouble having a baby. Meantime, you got some poor black woman who struggled since she was a child, who's experienced hunger since she was in the womb, and she might be like that woman right there. She might be a 45-year-old black woman with a broken hip who got cancer. She 8 months pregnant. She's going to deliver that baby. That baby is going to be the picture of health. And after she had the baby, she's ultimately going to clear herself of the cancer. And she might be still limping, but she'll keep going on. And she better watch it and get on birth control because she might have another baby at 46.
Right. Mm.
But yet this picture of health white woman can have no, you know what that is? That's God. That's the real God saying, you people done did enough.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to go back to the original. And we're going to stay there. So, you know, that's, I feel why these elite are really scared, because they're already becoming depleted. They're already becoming scarce. And the only ones that are being born Caucasian-wise, I mean, a large percentage of them, and I'm going to dare say something like at least 40 to 60% of Caucasian children nowadays are born with retardation. And what they do is they slap, and I know some of these children, they slap the ADD or ADHD Band-Aid on it, and they say, no, they're fine. And then they turn around and they take perfectly okay students who are brown, take your pick, Indian, Chinese, whatever, just any brown person, and they're categorizing them as autistic or slow or having some mental deficiency, and that's not the case. And I'm telling you, I thought this was only in grammar school. You know, I follow Dr. Umar Johnson, so I'm very aware of part of the problem, the psychoanalytical war waged, you know, against black boys and girls, but particularly the black boys. And I'm going to tell you, I thought it was only on a grammar school level, but I found out it's on a high school level. One of the children they were trying to categorize in one of these high schools as slow was literally the second in line for valedictorian. How could she be slow? You know, so they just want to put more labels and slap their labels on us. But see, if somebody came up to you tomorrow, Ron, and said, okay, your name's going to be called Mark, I'm slapping this label on you, you'd say, well, that's nonsense. I'm Ron. Right. You can't call me Mark. So why are we accepting and allowing them to do this to our children? So I tell people nowadays the smartest thing you could do is homeschool your child or put them in some type of alternative learning, because all they're learning in school is how to be brainwashed and become a mental slave to the system. So that by the time they graduate grammar school, they are all about white Jesus. They're all, you know, they're all about all the lies, how lovely the pilgrims were, all the lies presented to them and forced down their throat for 8-9 years. You know?
Wow. You're giving us a lot to think about.
What else you want? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed.
No, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. I'm supposed to drive a neighbor to the supermarket in a little while, and I saw her while I was talking to her. She passed by, she waved to me, and I waved to her. So then I started talking real fast. I said, I'm gonna get it all out. But so you know,
Wow, you're amazing. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, well, there's a lot of stuff. I'm gonna have to just crack open some books and go online and just really dig deep into this stuff. What you're saying makes a lot
well,
of sense
look, you
to
can
me.
take my interview, chop it up, and make it look like 10 different interviews. I don't know so much.
Well, okay, no, that's good. I mean, you're impressive. I mean, I'm really impressed. It's impressive.
You know what it is, Ron? People, to keep questioning, they need to stop watching the regular news, and they need to get on what's really the news and what's going on, and question. When you see something that's scandalous, horrific, like Pizzagate, how come they don't even dare to mention it on the news?
Right. And they call it fake news. Yeah, right.
They call it fake news. You know about Alt NASA, ALT NASA? You know about that?
Tell us about it. Educate us a little bit about it.
Well, I believe Trump called his movement the alt-right movement.
Right.
Which is like third right, Okay, hold on one second. Ron?
Yes.
Hello? Yes,
okay.
I'm sorry. The alt movement. Yeah, so what happened was, in defiance of Trump, I love this. Look, this is how much everybody hates him and what he's doing, that NASA themselves have created Alt NASA, and I believe it's the National Parks Department created Alt National Parks Department because he's taking funding and he's kind of just like almost canceling NASA, and then he's telling them you can't reveal any new scientific findings. You can't tell the people. So he's shutting them down. So they created websites. They're on Facebook and they're probably on Twitter and everywhere else. And it's ALT NASA. And there'll be a little dash there that will say fake news. But because they can't say that it's real, they're not allowed to by law. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm telling you, it's not fake news. It's them releasing information. And I'm going to tell you, people really need to look closely and ask, why are they guarding the Grand Canyon like that? What's going on in there?
Oh, okay.
What's going on? Do they have Anunnaki living in there? What's going on? The Hopi Indians said that there's room for over 50,000 people to live inside the walls of the Grand Canyon, through the caves and caverns. So here's my question. Why can't you even go to the Grand Canyon? Why can't you go down into the canyon? You're not allowed into the caverns. You can't even, if you try to, the History Channel tried to go nearby in a helicopter, and it was already immediately, government people came out. Immediately, government helicopters came out of nowhere. Like, where are you going?
Wow.
So we got to ask, when they're hiding stuff from us, we got to demand to see it. We got to know. We don't know what's going on in there. We don't know if they got child slave labor in there. We don't know. We don't know. And you know what? One of the last things I want to say to you, Ron, is that we live in America where anything is possible. And do you know about, and I hope I don't get her name wrong, May Louise Miller? She was the woman who got her freedom from slavery in the 1960s.
You said 1960s?
Yes.
Okay,
it might be 50s. But he's like, wait, did you say 18 or 19?
Right.
Ron, you don't know about May Louise Miller?
No, tell me. I want to listen. I want to be educated.
Okay, and you know what? Correct it later if I got her name wrong.
Okay.
But she was a woman. She wrote a book. She became a spokesperson for human rights. But she was, I believe, from Mississippi. And all she knew from the time she was born was that her mother, her father were slaves. Slaves. This is in the 1950s. And what happened was that a town in Mississippi, a white town, one family had these slaves. Now, this is the crazy part. Not only did the whole town know about it, but they used to lend out the slaves, you know. And the crazy part was this community was a very small, tight-knit church community. So, you know, every Sunday, I'm going to see my neighbor across the street. I'm going to see my neighbor down the block because we all go to church together.
Right.
So that means even the pastor knew.
Wow.
That it was their dirty secret that they were housing this family. And I don't know how they tricked them. I mean, it makes you wonder how they had these slaves till not that long ago.
Right.
One thing this old woman said to me from Louisiana, she's the one who told me about it, and I looked it up and I was just shocked. She said, I bet if you go deeper in the brush through the South, I wouldn't be surprised if you find some more.
No way.
And, you know, this woman got lucky she got her freedom, but I believe at age 5, even against her female owner's wishes, by age 5, you know, when she would get lent out and whatnot, they were raping this little girl who, when she later became a woman, you know, and she wound up getting freedom by accident, kind of, and she couldn't even have her own children because they destroyed her uterus.
Wow.
Repeatedly raping her as a 5-year-old. So, you know, people say, oh, in this day and age, things like that don't happen. And then when you find out about Mae Louise Miller, people, especially white folk, go, oh, that's a rare example. I bet there's no one out there like that anymore. But these are just the ones we hear of.
Wow.
It's just the ones we hear of. So it makes you wonder how many folks out there, black and otherwise, are out there in the brush being held against their will.
You know, you brought that up. I actually did when I was looking at, you know, this Emmett Till stuff with the white lady saying she lied about Emmett Till.
Yes.
And I came across this website with this newspaper articles by James A.L. Hicks. He used to be the editor of the New York Amsterdam News. And he was down there doing the Emmett Till murder trial back in the 50s. And he was going among the black folks in the Mississippi Delta. And he had encountered this one woman to help him find some witnesses for the trial. And this woman said she got to go cotton picking in the morning. And he said, well, don't worry about cotton picking. I'll pay you know, how much money you would made that day. He said, no, I can't do that because the white men come around and whip us. This back in the 1950s, you had white dudes coming around whipping black folks who wasn't picking cotton. You know, and I also met a brother, Chokwe Lumumba, the freedom fighter lawyer. He had his funeral down in Jackson, Mississippi. I met this brother who said he ran away from the plantation when he was 17 years old. He ran away from slavery. And like he was the youngest of his mother's children. They all grew up on the plantation. All they knew was being slaves. He actually said he was a runaway at 17. And this is back in the
And how old
50s.
is he now?
He's like in his 80s now. This is back in the, you know, like a while ago, like 60 years ago. 60 plus years ago.
So you see?
Yeah.
You're telling me about something I didn't even know. Now look, if we went into a room, say with 1,000 other folk, maybe from down south, I wonder how many more folk will say, well, wait, I know about this one.
Right.
Or I know about, we might, among 1,000 of us, we literally might get 20, 30 different stories, if not more than that.
That's true. Right. That's
so,
amazing.
You know, we in America, we don't question. We just go, oh, you know what? We're lazy. We go, you know what? That was a unique case. That don't happen. I'm going to tell you something. When I found that story out, you know, somebody said, oh, do you think, you know, I said, do you think that there could be more people like that, slaves out there? And you know what I said? I said, man, if I was president and I found out about Mae Louise Miller, I'd say, you know what? We're about to go through all the brush and all the cabins straight across the country and just see what we find.
Right.
Because between slavery and kidnapped people and missing children, they break into homes or I should say the government would just practically break your door down for all the wrong reasons. They're not going to do it for a missing child or an alleged black slave, unless your daddy is a multimillionaire.
Right.
But you know what? I tell a lot of people, I say, you about to find out who you are in America. And it's funny how Dick Gregory talk about the fake white people, because I tell a lot of my friends, I'm like, y'all not just my honorary Negroes. You don't know. You about to find out you a real Negro because you don't got the funds.
Right.
And when New World Order comes, you about to find out you completely washed up. It's over for you because white privilege doesn't necessarily extend to poor white folk.
Right.
It extends to mentally ill or retarded white folk like Trump. I'm telling you, he's mentally ill. He's part of the whole mental retardation of the white male. I think you and I spoke about that one time. I'm not saying all white children, and nowadays we so mixed up who's really all white.
Right.
But there's a lot, and it's because there's not enough differentiation in the gene pool. And so you need that mix. Even though we're the same Negro, a little Chinese mixed with a little African makes a nice little blend, just, replenish the whole melanated pool.
Right.
But it's still the same melanated pool. And again, white superiority or white supremacy is never, like I tell people about white people being supreme. It's about white inferiority, because if I have to yell in their face constantly that I'm superior, I'm supreme, then I must not be.
This is true. Donald Trump, like you said that about him being mentally retarded, he was the only child of his father and his mom that had to be sent away to military academy. Everybody else stayed at home. They had to send him away.
You know what? I think they sent him away because they couldn't stand him. They're like, you and your retarded mouth, you just don't shut up. And he seemed like he was a brat and arrogant then. And, a lot of I won't even say white children. I just say children of better means, might typically be that way. But he's just, he's just terrible. You got to look, and he trying to chase away the immigrants, and he ain't doing nothing about his wife.
Right. What's your thoughts about her? I'm kind of like, it's interesting. Like, she's kind of mysterious to me.
Yeah. You know what? White people always tell on themselves. You ain't got to grill them or give them the third degree because they tell on themselves. So when that lawyer got up on TV and said, while I was working on Melania Trump's immigration papers this summer. What?
This summer?
Wait, what?
Uh-oh.
What you talking about? They've been married for 12 years or something. And you know why? Because she don't even want to be an American citizen.
Wow.
She could have been had that. She don't even want it. I believe he's probably trying to force it on her. Because, and look, this is not me, but everybody out there saying that she's an abused woman. Maybe she's not physically abused. Maybe she is. Maybe it's a mental abuse. But, you can go look up the videos and they'll show you they believe Melania is being abused. And you know what? It almost looks like it, but you know what? She might just be annoyed. Wouldn't you be annoyed if you was married to Trump?
I'll be looking at her son, too. I don't know what's going on.
I can't even listen to him for 12 minutes. How's she been listening to him for 12 years?
I don't know. With them hand gestures and stuff, I don't know. A little small jazz
hand gestures. The hand gestures alone make me want to slap him.
Oh, man.
That You know what? I'm sorry, but just rewinding back to what I was saying about people out in the street looking at the rallies and all the brown faces and realizing that those statistics that they're giving us are wrong and illusion.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take a step back and look, you'll see that pretty much just about everything they tell us and do is a lie.
Wow.
Even the food is a lie. They take fake food, mix it with real food, and then give it to us and say, here, it's food. You know, they had a online, it's rice. It tastes like rice, it cooked like rice, but it's made entirely of plastic. Why would you even produce such a thing?
Wow.
Why wouldn't they just put more money in trying to figure out how to make more rice instead of how to make plastic rice? And you know what? One thing I just want to say, maybe you want to check it out. I just briefly touched upon it yesterday online, but apparently they have crossbred a human with a pig. Do you know about this, Ron?
No, I don't know. I'm sure they have. I have no doubt.
They've crossed a human with a pig for quote unquote science sake and growing human body parts that we can remove from the quote unquote human pig and harvest. That's scary.
It is scary.
That's scary. I don't want no body part from something that's half bacon.
That's right.
If somebody got to give me a body part, it needs to come out of a human. It needs to come out of a human. Hopefully a melanated human, but it needs to come out of a human. But you know what? I'm going to tell you this. It's like I tell people all the time, a lot of these killings that you think are gang banging, quote unquote black on black crime, which is hysterical.
Right.
You know? But and we don't even get into the reason why, you already know. But out of that is just about harvesting young, male, healthy organs, melanated, young melanated youth somewhere between the ages of 16 and 25 and harvesting his organs because I'm a multimillionaire. I live nearby to the hospital that I know they're going to bring that gangbanger who just got shot. And, you know, they might give a real gang, here's $50,000. All you got to do is kill this guy you hate and want to kill anyway. But make sure you kill that guy. And why? Because that guy might got the same blood type and health situation that John Smith, the multimillionaire, got, and everybody's being paid under the table. And I feel like that's what they kind of said about, was it Michael Brown? That there was something in there that seemed very funny, almost about harvesting. You know, there was a young 27-year-old man about a year or so ago. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. He was from L.A. or something, and he was a good guy, had a job, great guy, friend. He went missing, and after a week, they found his body in the desert. When his mom came to identify it, it turns out that whoever murdered him took every major organ in his body out.
Wow.
Young, healthy, 27-year-old man. So people don't realize we really are still slaves because they do whatever they want. We just privileged slaves.
Right. Exactly.
We can come and go out of our homes or whatnot. And, you know, it's like I say, I had posted it one time. I said, people say they want equality, but they too comfortable in the Nike sneakers playing PS4. I'm sorry, they too comfortable in their slave quarters wearing Nikes and playing PS4. You know? So everybody talks about, oh, we want equality and justice, but I'm just going to have another beer, play me another game, and I don't want to miss this particular fantasy football because it's lined up for the night. How many people cancel? I got friends like that. They cancel everything for the fantasy football. So, you know, people are too comfortable where they are. They don't have distraction or confusion in their particular life. Maybe they have a sweet situation. Maybe they're not as poor as the rest of the population. Maybe they're financially stable. But the whole point is that people say they want equality, but what are they willing to give? Prince gave his life.
Right.
In more ways than one, you know, because of what he was trying to do the last year or two, you know, before they murdered him. Prince gave his life. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to give everything you have? Would you give up your job and the comfortable home you have for true freedom? You know, and what I'm really afraid of, Ron, that all these people who we know they want freedom, we know they want equality, I'm afraid that people are going to wait till it's too late. Like now. Right. Like now. So, you know, I said it's interesting. Look, tomorrow is Groundhog's Day.
That's
when the world, listen, that's when the world sees what, you know, fictitiously, whether it's going to be, you know, how many more months of winter, whatever, but the real story is, it's funny because it feels like Groundhog Day every day for the last week or so. Because every day we're seeing what's about to come. What's about to come. So listen, I tell people, when they talk about you don't need clean air or water and to test for it, then that's when you need to get up and do something, because they could do whatever they want to the water. They could do whatever they want to the air. And if people don't think they're really going to do something to the air, and our air is not already radiation filled, then they need to go check out the murals in the Colorado airport.
Yeah.
Because one of the murals is a Nazi guy in a gas mask, and his bayonet is stabbing a peace dove. See, white people can't shut up. They can't, like, oh, we can't tell you all, but we're going to put the scariest mural and you'll figure it out.
Wow.
So they tell on themselves. They want you to know. It's part of the arrogance and it's part of the barbarism. So I don't know how many which ways they already done told us what they're about to do from Obama's executive order. But see, this is the problem. And the whole problem is they targeting Trump. It's not about Trump. It was not even about Obama. People want to blame Obama for all this stuff. He is just a cog in the wheel. Obama was literally born into the system. By the way, you really need to go see about the whole and do the investigation on potentially Malcolm X being his dad. Because, you know, I heard that rumor for years. I didn't believe it until Dr. Phil Valentine said it. And hold up, here's someone I highly respect. So my whole point is that it's not these individual people. They are the puppets, and the puppet master is behind them pulling all the strings. So I'm not saying Trump is innocent. He's not innocent at all. But this is bigger than him. This is bigger than Obama. This is the exact same Nazis. It's their sons and grandsons. Prescott Bush was the original Nazi. And then you've got, you know, his son and then his grandson who became president. This is the Nazi agenda. There is no differentiation. And that's where Bush gets his 1,000 points of light speech. He mentioned our homeland, and that's when they created the whole Homeland Security. And Homeland You know where you hear that word homeland? If you watch The Sound of Music, you know that old movie Sound of Music?
Right.
They talk about Germany and Nazi Germany, and they call it homeland. And so they basically just recreated. And I'm gonna tell you, there's a 92-year-old woman last year, and she heard me talking to her neighbor, who was another elderly gentleman, but not as old as her. And I said, this whole thing is lined up like Nazi Germany in the 30s. And I tell you, this woman, she practically fell trying to run to me and get to the edge of her. And she said to me, young lady, I've been telling people this. This is about a year and a half ago. She said, I've been telling people that exactly what went on in the 30s in Nazi Germany, exactly, she said, exactly every single thing played out. This is what it looks like now in America. And she said, I know because I was a very young woman at the time. I was there.
Wow.
So when I mentioned the whole Nazi thing and people laugh in my face, I said, listen, I'll take you to a woman who was around at the time. And she, just because she believes it and she can see it, even if I didn't believe it, I would think, because she told me so. And it's like Dick Gregory. Can't nobody tell you about Selma better than him because he was there.
Right. Exactly.
He was there. Not too many people from that time alive. But Dick Gregory was there. So if he say something about Selma and the movie never said nothing, well, I got to believe him. He was
right.
Just like I got to believe that old Polish woman because she was there and she saw it. So, the one thing I want to say to you, just watch, because where the Nazi situation was not favoring the Jews back then, I believe that's come back into existence, because you see how Obama turned his back on Israel. And so you're seeing a bigger, they could talk about it. And you know what, one thing I just want to say to you before I go, because I got to go, but you could call me back. Like, I have to drive somebody somewhere, but you can call me back at a later time or tomorrow, whenever you like. But I just want to say that, interestingly enough, the countries that Trump has banned from the people just entering and those people being detained are all the countries where their central bank does not revolve around Rothschild.
Wow.
So we're talking about Somalia, Libya, Sudan, because the few that are in the whole Rothschild system, they're not being targeted because they're part of the playbook. They're going with the program. But those people who are not Rothschild, and you know what? A lot of people don't realize that Rothschild, they own the money. If tomorrow they say to everybody around the world to give me my money back, by law, we have no choice but to give it back. If they go to the banks and they say, we want all our money back, they don't even have to come to your house, get your permission. You're going to go to the bank and it's going to be closed. So this is the last that I'm going to leave you on. It was the former J.P. Morgan accountant last year who was prophesizing about all the banks crashing and why there's going to be a financial crash. The one thing he said, and I think this is important that Americans know this, that the whole financial crash most likely will take place on a Friday, where you'll be somewhere, you'll go to pay with your debit or credit card, and it won't work. So you'll say, maybe the credit cards won't, but the bank cards won't. And so you'll think, they'll make some announcement like, well, there's some temporary situation, a virus with the bank, so nobody can receive their money or get into their money till Monday. That's a very bad sign. That's almost a sign that martial law should start ASAP. If they do that on a Friday, particularly if they do it on a Friday, know that Monday you ain't getting in the bank.
Wow. That's crazy. I'm going to talk to you before then, though. Way before then.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to state that out there and let them know, unless you have trillions of dollars in the bank, nobody's safe. This New World Order isn't about color.
Mm.
It's about money. It's about green, the color of money. So you could be black as night, but you got the millions, you're safe. You're good.
Mm.
They said the millionaires are going to be the new poor kicking rocks and complaining while you and me are slaves in the slave camp.
Wow.
That is their agenda. We have become expendable. We're in the way of the rich. They want to clear out the land and make more resorts, more vacation spots.
Mm.
So I don't know, again, what people are waiting for. They think, the problem is everybody says, it's not going to affect me. Isn't it really? Isn't it really, though? So I just say that we all got to get up, do our part, and unite.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the melanated folk, we need to understand we can't be against each other because that's what they want. That's how they planned it out. That's part of how they keep us under control. Well, if we're not organizing because I feel like I'm better than you because you're Mexican and I'm Chinese, or because you're Dominican and I'm Puerto Rican, or whatever the case may be, well, then they've already won. Mm. But when we unite, we are an unstoppable force.
Mm-hmm.
And we're majority of the people on the planet.
Exactly.
So, but I have to go now, Ron.
All right, Miss Lady. Appreciate you so much. Yeah.
Thank you for interviewing me.
That's
anytime you want.
I look forward
to it. Just give me a call whenever. I'm sorry, I tried to race through it.
No, you did a good job.
To race through it.
No, people gonna be really impressed. They're gonna be doing their own research. Do for self to learn. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to provoke thought, and you know what? I don't want people to take my word for it. I want them to go and research and look and get mad on their own.
I definitely did. I think you're gonna like that spark, though. I appreciate you so much. In the words of Skeleton, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing. And happy early birthday.
Thank you, sweetie.
Yeah. All right.
God bless.
God bless. Good night.
And listen, if you speak to Dick Gregory, tell him I said happy anniversary.
I will. No problem. You take care, Corey.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
I will.